Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Ashtotara Shata Shri Srimati Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Ashtotara Shata Shri Srimati Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopagopana Shama Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Yamunamai Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai New Govardhan Dham Ki Jai All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This morning we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, entitled Creation of the Fourth Order. Chapter 29, Talks between Narada and King Prachanibarhi. We're on text 55. Sa tvam, excuse me. Alright, so please repeat after me. Sa tvam ichaksha mriga cheshtitam atmanontash chittam niyacha hidi karna dunim cha chitte cha anganashramam Ashattama Yutta Gatam Prinihi Hamsasharanam Virama Kramena Satam Vichaksha Mriga Cheshtitam Atmanantash Chittam Niyacha Hridi Karna Dunim Cha Chitte Chayanga Nashamam Ashattama Yuttagatam Grinihi Hamsa Sharanam Virama Kramena Sattvam Vichaksha Mrigacheshtitam Atmanontash Chittam Niyacha Hridikarna Dunim Cha Chitte Chayanga Nashamam Asattama Yuttagatam Prinihi Hamsa Sharanam Virama Kramena Sattvam Vichaksha Mrigacheshtitam Atmanontash Chittam Niyacha Hridikarna Dunim Cha Chitte Chayanga Nashamam Asattama Yuttagatam Prinihi Hamsa Sharanam Virama Kramena Saha, that very person. Tvam, you. Vichaksha, considering. Mrigacheshtitam, the activities of the deer. Atmanaha, of the self. Antaha, within. Chittam, consciousness. Niyacha, fix. Shridi, in the heart. Karna dunim, oral reception. Cha, and. Chitte, under the consciousness. Chahi, give up. Angana ashramam, household life. Asattama, most abominable. Utagatam, full of stories of man and woman. Prinihi, just accept. Hamsa sharanam, the shelter of the liberated souls. Virama, become detached. Kramena, gradually. Translation. Commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. My dear King, just try to understand the allegorical position of the deer. Be fully conscious of yourself and give up the pleasure of hearing about promotion to heavenly planets by fruit of activity. Give up household life, which is full of sex, as well as stories about such things, and take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the mercy of the liberated souls. In this way, please give up your attraction for material existence. Purport. In one of his songs, Srila Narottam Das Thakur writes, Karma Kanda Jnana Kanda Kevala Visharabanda Amrita Baliya Yeba Kaya Nana Yoni Sada Pire Kadarya Baksharana Kare Tara Janma Ada Pate Yaya. Fruit of activities and mental speculation are simply cups of poison. Whoever drinks of them, thinking them to be nectar, must struggle very hard, life after life, in different types of bodies. Such a person eats all kinds of nonsense. It's like sushi. It doesn't say that. And becomes condemned by his activities of so-called sense enjoyment. People are generally enamored of the fruitive results of worldly activity and mental speculation. They generally desire to be promoted to heavenly planets, merge into the existence of Brahman, or keep themselves in the midst of family life, enchanted by the pleasures of the tongue and genitals. The great sage Narada clearly instructs King Barhishman not to remain his entire life in the Grihastha ashram. Being in the Grihastha ashram means being under the control of one's wife. One has to give up all this and put himself into the ashram of the Paramahamsa. That is, put himself under the control of the spiritual master. The Paramahamsa ashram is the ashram of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, under whom the spiritual master has taken shelter. The symptoms of the bona fide spiritual master are stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 3, Text 21. Tasmad gurum prapadyeta jigyasu shaya uttamam shabde para chanishnatam brahman yupa shamashrayam. Any person who is seriously desirous of achieving real happiness must seek out a bona fide spiritual master and take shelter of him by initiation. The qualification of a spiritual master is that he must have realized the conclusion of the scriptures by deliberation and arguments, and thus be able to convince others of these conclusions. Such great personalities, who have taken complete shelter of the Supreme Godhead, leaving aside all material considerations, are to be understood as bona fide spiritual masters. A Paramahamsa is one who has taken shelter of the Parabrahman, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one takes shelter of the Paramahamsa spiritual master, gradually, through training and instruction, he will become detached from worldly life and ultimately return home, back to Godhead. The particular mention of Anga Nashramam Asattama Utagatam is very interesting. The whole world is in the clutches of Maya, being controlled by woman. Not only is one controlled by the woman who is one's wife, but one is also controlled by so many sex literatures. That is the cause of one's being entangled in the material world. One cannot give up this abominable association through one's own effort. But if one takes shelter of a bona fide spiritual master who is a Paramahamsa, he will gradually be elevated to the platform of spiritual life. The pleasing words of the Vedas that inspire one to elevate oneself to the heavenly planets or merge into the existence of the Supreme are for the less intelligent who are described in Bhagavad Gita as Maya Pratigyana, those whose knowledge is taken away by the illusory energy. Real knowledge means understanding the miserable condition of material life. One should take shelter of a bona fide liberated soul, the spiritual master, and gradually elevate himself to the spiritual platform and thus become detached from the material world. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Hamsa Sharanam refers to the cottage in which saintly persons live. Generally, a saintly person lives in a remote place in the forest or in a humble cottage. However, we should note that the times have changed. It may be beneficial for a saintly person's own interest to go to the forest and live in a cottage, but if one becomes a preacher, especially in Western countries, he has to invite many classes of men who are accustomed to living in comfortable apartments. Therefore, in this age, a saintly person has to make proper arrangements to receive people and attract them to the message of Krishna consciousness. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, perhaps for the first time, introduced motor cars and palatial buildings for the residents of saintly persons, just to attract the general public in big cities. The main fact is that one has to associate with a saintly person. In this age, people are not going to search out a saint in the forest, so the saints and sages have to come to the big cities to make arrangements to receive the people in general, who are accustomed to the modern amenities of material life. Gradually, such persons will learn that palatial buildings or comfortable apartments are not at all necessary. The real necessity is to become free from material bondage in whatever way possible. According to the orders of Srila Rupa Goswami, Nasaktasya Vishayan Yatarham Upayunjataha Nirbandha Krishna Sambande Yuktam Vairagyam Uchate. When one is not attached to anything, but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness. It's from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-255. One should not be attached to material opulence, but material opulence may be accepted in the Krishna consciousness movement to facilitate the propagation of the movement. In other words, material opulence may be accepted as yukta vairagya, that is, for renunciation. Om Vijnanativedandasya Kananjana Shalakaya Chakshulanmaditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karitivachalam Pangam Langay Tegadim Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Gurunduttaranam Vancha Kapadabhishta Kripa Sindhubevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation again. My dear king, just try to understand the allegorical position of the deer. Be fully conscious of yourself and give up the pleasure of hearing about promotion to heavenly planets by fruit of activity. Give up household life, which is full of sex, as well as stories about such things, and take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the mercy of the liberated souls. In this way, please give up your attraction for material existence. So people are very, it's not that people aren't serious about things. People are very serious about the particular activities they're engaging in, the rituals, the different habits, material existence in general. People are serious about it. But you could say that people are serious about the wrong things. They're very serious about the wrong things. Like, okay, somebody's very serious about making a lot of money. Not for Krishna, for themselves. Or people are very serious about like their own rituals. Like, okay, every Sunday they don't go to the church or the temple. But they every weekend they go out bar hopping, different bars. I guess that's a term, bar hopping. So they go to one bar and they drink, and they go to another bar and they drink, and so it's they're serious about it. Just like, or for example, a married man, who's not a good husband. He's not serious about the duties of a husband. He's not serious about it. He doesn't spend time with his wife, doesn't spend time with his kids, and in fact, he's out just roaming the town, following the dictates of his fickle mind, and cheating on his wife. But he's very serious about that. He's very serious about doing that, following his mind and his senses and cheating on his wife. But he's not serious about what he's supposed to be serious about. At least, yeah. So here, King Prachinabharishat, he was very serious, actually. He was seriously engaged in these in these yagyas and the sacrifices to go to the heavenly planets. He wasn't joking around. He was very focused. But Narada Muni's coming and he's saying, this is a waste of time. And aside from it being a waste of time, you're going to have to suffer a lot for this. So following the footsteps of Narada Muni, and trying to follow the footsteps of Narada Muni, devotees in the line of Narada Muni, they're also telling people that. You're taking everything so seriously, but you're taking the wrong thing seriously. You have to change the course of your life, change the direction of your life. Or as to say, please give up your attraction for material existence, or please give your attraction for so many things you're attracted to. Stop taking it seriously. Or we have the case here. I'll just read this. This is Srila Prabhupada. This I'm not sure if all the devotees have seen this. I'm going to give it back to you. This is more than 100 stories told by Srila Prabhupada. It's a little book called "There Is a Story," put out by Back to Culture, I think, Golden Age Media. Anyways, it's a nice book of Prabhupada's stories, all the many stories he's told in his lectures and books and so on. So here, chapter 11, there's a story Srila Prabhupada tells in New York, November 30th, 1966, quite early on. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 20, text 142. He was speaking on that. And he tells the story. So I'll read the story he tells. And it's in relation to to what we're discussing here. There is a nice verse of Bilmangala Thakur. He lived for 700 years in Vrindavan. And he became a great devotee of Krishna. In the beginning, he was an impersonalist. His life is very nice. It is better to cite his life. He was a South Indian Brahmin, a very rich man, and very much sensuous. He kept one prostitute. So he was so much, devoted to the prostitute that he was performing his father's death ceremony, and he was asking the priest, please haste, I have to go. Means prostitute's house. So he was very rich man, priestly. Anyway, he finished that business. Then there was ceremony. He took very nice foodstuff in a bag, and he was going to that prostitute's house. So he took some foodstuff in the bag. And going. Sometimes you don't hear that detail, but But when he came out of his home, it was raining torrentially. You see? So he never cared for that raining. He went to the riverside. There was no boat, and river was waving. The waves were very furious, and he thought, how can I go to the other side? He was daily going to the other side of the river. Then, anyway, he crossed over by swimming. Then the prostitute thought, it is today raining, and he may not come. So she blocked the door and went to sleep. And when he came to the house, he saw, the door is blocked, and it was raining still. So how can I go? So he crossed over the wall by catching one snake. Just see how much intensely he was attached. And he went to the prostitute, and she was astonished. Well, Bilvamangala, how do you dare to come here like this? Oh, he described, yes, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. Oh, the prostitute was astonished. Her name was Chintamani. So the prostitute said, my dear Bilvamangala, if you have got so intense love for me, oh, had it been for God, for Krishna, how would have been your life sublime? Oh, that struck him. Yes, he at once left and went away. Yes, you are right. Then he was going to Vrindavan. He saw another beautiful woman because he was practiced to that habit. So he was going behind. Although he determined, now I am going to Vrindavan, on the way he was again attracted by another woman. So it says that he happened to see another beautiful woman. So for a sensuous person, for a lusty person, it's not very difficult for them to notice women, beautiful women, because their eye is trained for that. That's what they're interested in. Just like a devotee to see a devotee to see, like Krishna says, I'm the light of the sun, I'm the light of the moon, all these. So a devotee, when looking at this world, when interacting with this world, then they say Krishna behind, or they say Krishna. Or for, like, I'm thinking about a book distributor. For a book distributor, it's like everyone is a potential person to give a book to. So, depending on the vision of the person. So, he saw another beautiful woman. She followed that woman. So he followed that woman. That woman belonged to a respectable family. So he came, and the woman said to her husband, oh, this man has followed me. Please ask, what is the idea? So the husband asked, my dear sir, you appear to be a very nice gentleman. You belong to a very aristocratic family. From your appearances, I understand. What do you want? Why are you following my wife? He said, yes, I am following your wife because I want to embrace her. Oh, you want to embrace her? Come on, embrace. Come on. You are welcome. So the wife, he ordered, so the husband ordered, oh, here's a guest. He wants to embrace you and kiss you, so please decorate yourself nicely so that he may enjoy. So the wife also followed the instruction of the husband, because the wife's duty is to follow the instruction. And when Bilvamangala came inside before the woman, he said, my dear mother, will you kindly give me your hairpins? Yes. I have. Then she asked, why? I have got some business. Then he took the hairpin, at once pierced his eyes. Oh, this eye is my enemy, and he became blind. And then he thought, now no more I shall be disturbed by these desires. So in that blindness he was pentencing austerity in Vrindavan. So by the grace of Krishna, Krishna came like a boy. Oh, my dear sir, why are you starving? You don't take some milk? Oh, you are... Oh, who are you, my dear boy? Oh, I am a boy of this village. I am a cowherd boy. If you like, I can give you daily some milk. So who's that boy? It's Krishna. So Krishna supplied him milk. So there was friendship, and he has written that Bhakti is such a thing that mukti, mukalitanjali sevatis asman. Mukti is nothing for me. So this is his verse. So we have no desire for mukti. When Krishna comes to supply milk, oh, then what is the use of my mukti? You see, that's a great soul, Bilvamangala Thakur. It is worth to remember his name. For 700 years he lived in Vrindavan, and he has written a nice book, which is Krishna Karnamrita. That is a very authoritative book, Krishna Karnamrita. Lord Chaitanya picked up this book, and he recommended all his devotees to read that Krishna Karnamrita book. So Krishna, he made it to Vrindavan, and he Krishna would come personally and supply him milk, and he wrote this book, Krishna Karnamrita, that Lord Chaitanya would relish, and that he recommended his followers to relish this book. So he was taking Bilvamangala Thakur, he was taking his association with this prostitute very seriously. As saying here, like his father's funeral, oh, hurry up, I have some business to do. And then going to the prostitute, going through so many difficulties. and she said that if you loved me as much as you love Krishna, then excuse me. Yeah, excuse me. If you love Krishna if you love Krishna as much as you love me, then your life would be sublime. You'd be a pure devotee. So that inspired him, and he made his way to Vrindavan. Now, of course, making his way to Vrindavan, he ran into some more difficulties. That's when he moved, right, hairpin his eyes. But then, when upon continuing to Vrindavan and living in Vrindavan, he was very serious about his spiritual practices. He was very serious about chanting and engaging in devotional service, and therefore Krishna reciprocated with him. Ye yata mam prapadyante, right? Krishna says, as they surrender to me, I reciprocate. So if we could just become serious about, like Prabhupada said, we could become perfect even performing just one of the 9 processes of devotional service. If we could become serious about all of them, okay, or 8 of them, 7 of them, one of them, if we could just become serious about one of them, it would be so beneficial to us and to the world, in terms of helping people, because we become Krishna conscious. We could also help people. And serious means not following the process and not speculating about how to follow the process, but actually following it according to the instructions of the Acharyas. So, even if we become very serious about chanting, for example, chanting japa, or kirtan, or we may become very serious about taking prasadam. Like, if we really take it seriously, like, okay, the prayers, and this is Krishna's mercy, and honoring it, and we make a lot of progress. We really take it seriously. So whatever the process is, that will be very beneficial for us. Just like there was, Sandamani was telling me, the temple president there, Prabhupada disciple in Tucson. She was telling me that there was one boy, and he would come to the restaurant all the time, and he would take prasad. And he was very serious about it. Now, did he have much understanding of what prasad was? And it from the story, it didn't seem like that. But Prabhupada makes the point, even if he actually says in the Nectar of Instruction, sometimes people, they jokingly chant Hare Krishna and mock the devotees, and he says sometimes they join our group and then they ask for initiation, by the spiritual master. So whether they have an understanding or not. But from the story, it didn't seem like he did. But anyways, he was taking prasadam, and he would be there for hours every day, grazing like a cow every day, taking prasad. And then devotees started really, this person's getting purified. He was really, you could tell when someone's getting purified, and he started inquiring, he started reading, he started chanting, and he started becoming a devotee. And fast forward, and that devotee is Parameshvara, Prabhu. Book distributor for, I don't know how many years now, more than 20. Yeah, he's a general, traveling Sankirtan, and he's still going and going and going and going, and, he gets young men joining him, and, they stay for some years, and then they leave, and he's going and going. He's really passing out so many books, and very, nice devotee, fixed. So, fixed in his service. So, if we take some of the process, or as much as devotional service as seriously as we can, then we make a lot of progress in Krishna consciousness. And we have to be careful to avoid the poison. What's the poison, right? It's mental speculation, fruit of activities, or cups of poison. Narottam Das Thakur is saying. And it's tough because every generation of Vaishnavas, they have certain difficulties they have to deal with in terms of what's going on in the world, what's going on, in the preaching mission and so on. So, in previous days, it wasn't, like Prabhupada says, perhaps for the first time, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he introduced cars, automobiles, and big temples, and the sannyasis would utilize these things for Krishna service. But the challenge of in Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's time, and now in Srila Prabhupada's time, starting ISKCON, is that devotees have to be careful not to become bewildered by that opulence. Like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's, some of his disciples, historically, they had difficulties dealing with this Yukta Vairagya principle. Okay, how to engage things and not become bewildered by them. Of course, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was perfect, and he knew how to engage everything, and Srila Prabhupada's perfect. But the challenge comes for disciples, grand disciples, great grand disciples, because material opulence comes. Money comes through the hands, given certain facilities. So we have to be careful that we don't become overly or become attached to these things in and of themselves. It's like, living in the temple. It's actually, from a material standpoint, of course, devotees have to follow, the principles and chant 16 rounds and certain requirements. But it's materially a very nice situation. Wi-Fi, prasadam, right? Beautiful place. You got nice heaters, nice nice new flooring, and so many things. And it's and how much are the temple residents paying for it? Zero. Right by the people pay a lot of money to live in Pacific Beach, La Jolla. It's a very expensive place to live, actually. So devotees have to be careful that they don't, or we have to be careful that we don't become bewildered by such things, and we utilize them in Krishna's service and understand who they belong to, Krishna, the spiritual master. And if we don't, then we're cheating ourselves, and ultimately we won't be happy here, despite all of the nice things, materially we're trying to enjoy. We just can't be happy. Eventually we, start peering out the window. All right, it's better out there. So now, of course, that's for devotees living inside the temple, but this Yukta Vairagya principle, it's whether people living in their houses or whether they're sannyasis or whoever they are, they have to deal with this, dealing with material opulence. So it's tricky, but it's possible. We just have to be very serious about our spiritual practices, and this way, by Krishna's mercy, by the mercy of the spiritual master, we won't become bewildered. We're always taking shelter. And this is what Srila Prabhupada is saying, that we have to take shelter of Paramahamsas. We have to take shelter of great devotees, of the spiritual masters. We have to take shelter. Or else we'll be forced to be taking shelter of so many other false shelters, right? Women, and if we're men, if we're women, men, or whatever. So many different false shelters we'll have to take shelter of. In other words, we'll be drinking poison, or thinking, "Oh, this is such great nectar. This is such great nectar," but it's not. It's poison. But the trick of Maya is that it looks good. I wish I would have brought my little paper, Mukunda, that I showed you. That's a good time, but anyways, maybe next. It looks good, but it's actually poison. Just like you may have, they may come out at a big feast or something, and I don't know, some crazy person, demonic person wants to poison the devotees, and it's a, watermelon, lime, nectar. I don't know if anybody's had that, but it's good. Watermelon, lime, try it out. if you haven't tried it. If you have tried it, then it's great. But you bring it out, okay, great, wonderful. And the poison may be so subtle, you can't taste it. We can't taste it. So it tasted, and fatal. So that's the thing. Maya is so tricky, so good, so she can be so subtle in her trying to control people, movements, the tricks, that we don't even see it. Like the materialist Kapila says, he doesn't see the passing of the days and nights, right? But it's time's moving. And therefore, Narada Muni, he's saying, give up material existence, and specifically in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, shouldn't remain his entire life in the Grihastha ashram. Means that one should take vanaprastha or one should take sannyas, and that they are more directly engaged in the activities of Krishna consciousness, and not working for money and so on. So to do that, to plan for that, and to execute that. So we have some vanaprastha, of course. We got Rajendrananda Prabhu here, of course. Bhartu Kamalar Dasa, we're eternally servant of Krishna. And we have Bhakta Mike, right? Mike retired. So this, it's important to do this, and that's what Narada Muni is saying. He said, give it up, give it up, give it up, to King Prachinibharisha. And I think the ending is good, right? He does it, right? King Prachinibharisha, he gives up, right? Yeah. He doesn't say, all right, Narada Muni, nice instructions, but I'm going back to my yagya or whatever. But he actually does it, so to his credit. Of course, he's in the Bhagavatam. But so just to last, the other time's running out here, but there's a wonderful, by Bhakti Tirtha Swami, 1987 Vyasa Puja offering to Srila Prabhupada. And he's pointed out the danger of getting distracted, getting sidetracked by material enjoyment and desires for it, getting, thinking the poison is nectar. So he, very beautiful written offering here. So short paragraph, I'll just read it. We read a little bit about the other day, but I think this, anyways. Every day, another associate from ISKCON joins us, and I am beginning to wonder who those rare few were who went directly to the spiritual kingdoms. Here we are, Srila Prabhupada, enjoying like anything in the heavenly planets. Most of us have wonderful empires. We have beautiful bodies that have tremendous longevity. We're surrounded by luxuries, extremely potent intoxicants, and gorgeous damsels. We are all, however, suffering tremendously, as we are slaves to all these opulences. I don't know how the others got here, but I can clearly see how I built my staircase to this heavenly dungeon. I remember you so often stressing that we're not the body. I, however, found myself many times thinking, why does he repeat this so much? I remember you attacking the impersonalists with tumultuous vigor, but I could not at the time appreciate the significance of these attacks. I recall you pleading with us to give up sense gratification once and for all. In those days, I thought you were speaking mainly to the non-devotees, and I did not realize these instructions were for us. But due to our lack of becoming more internally connected with you, we are mostly now prisoners of the heavenly dungeons. Our devotion could take us only this far. So, as Prabhupada wrote Jayananda Prabhu, that, okay, if you had material desires, you go to the heavenly kingdom, and from there you can make progress in Krishna consciousness. But because you're hearing the chanting of the holy name, I'm sure you've reached the transcendental abode. So as Bhakti Tirtha Swami is very beautifully bringing up here, is that my devotion, or our devotion, could only take us this far. So we have to be careful that we don't become bewildered, because we don't want our devotion just to take us that far. Or if you don't want to think about next life, we could think about this life. Our devotion could only take us so far. What's that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says? He says, Tarangani, something like that, about enjoying the opulences, the material opulence that devotional service, the waves that devotional service provides. It means, okay, we've been devotees for some time, and there's some respect there, there's some from people, there's some opulences. We have to be careful that we don't go that far, because that's not far enough. We don't want to be enjoying those waves. We want to be swimming in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the wave of, the waves and the ocean of the nectar of devotion. And therefore, as Bhakti Tirtha Swami is here, we need to become more internally connected with Srila Prabhupada and the disciplic session Krishna, because, as Narottam Das Thakur says in Prema Bhakti Chandrika, is that devotional service has to be done not just with the body, but with the mind as well. So, all right, does anybody have any questions or comments? What Giwik man, does he have any? Okay, Javita Prabhu. Dharmaseta Prabhu is coming back, apparently. When Ramapati Prabhu... I'm sorry? Huh? No class. He's not giving class? He's not the same. Okay, well, he's coming back to do service, and when Ramapati makes his transition back home, back to Mayapur, then Dharmaseta Prabhu will come on the scene. So
we have our new Brahmins.
And we have our Damodar Kumar, and I think he's gradually
move into the thing. I wanted to, you mentioned, didn't more than mention, you told the whole story about Bilvamangal Thakur and how he wrote the Krishna Kainamrita. And devotees may not know, because that's so famous, but he wrote many other verses. And now I have a request.
Nitam, never nitam, kaina chapitam. So Javita Prabhu taught me this, of course. Nitam, never nitam, kaina chapitam, payat kome madali, iti samadhya tam tam bhuma, balam namami gopalam. Who stole my butter? So this is Krishna. He's the Supreme Personality of God, right? Origin of all, As Bhajanarayan Swami was giving the talk the other day, he had that projector, and there's the hand, and the shadow. So as above, so below. So Krishna's throwing a temper tantrum. She says that, right, children of this world. So, who stole my butter? Krishna is saying, who stole my butter? Who drank my milk? And where can my flute be found? And then Bilvamangal Thakur is praying, I bow to the cowherd child who shouts these words as he rolls on the ground. So, who stole my butter? Who drank my milk? And where can my flute be found? I bow to the cowherd child who shouts these words as he rolls on the ground. So apparently somebody stole Krishna's butter. Yeah, Krishna's a butter thief, but somebody stole his butter and his flute. What else?
Milk.
Yeah, and his milk somebody stole. So,
thank you.
This is also here. This book I read from. It's a beautiful book by Boyjan Prabhu, Japa. It's called Japa. Easy to remember the title. But it's so much wonderful instruction there, and from the Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, so many other acharyas' writings, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, commentaries. And it's called 9 Keys from the Shikshastrika to improve your japa. So it's based on the Shikshastrika, and it's an amazing book. So if anybody hasn't read it, it's a great book to read. But what reminded me of this, because you're talking about the butter, there's includes Srila Rupa Goswami from Srila Rupa Goswami Stavamala Sri Prarthana Padati, which is prayers to Srimati Radharani. It's a very beautiful prayer. Here, I'll just read it. O Queen, whose fair limbs are more splendid than pure gold. O Queen, whose eyes are as charming as the eyes of a doe. O Queen, whose face defeats millions of moons. O Queen, dressed in garments as dark as monsoon clouds. O Queen, who is the crowning garland of malika flowers on the braided hair of the young gopis. O Queen, whose beauty is served by many transcendental splendid jewels and other ornaments. O teacher of the entirety of expert gopis, O Queen, elaborately decorated with a host of transcendental virtues, O Queen, accompanied by your 8 very dear friends, O Queen, who pleases Lord Keshava with the waves of your restless sidelong glance. O Queen, whose nectar bimba fruit lips have become the food of the Prince of Raj. O Queen of Vrindavan, I bow down and roll about on the Yamuna's shore, and with an agitated heart and a choked voice I appeal to you. Even though he has committed offenses, and even though he is unqualified, and even though his intelligence is crooked, please give this person a small particle of your devotional service. And the last verse here, about butter. Because the fresh butter of your heart is always melting in the splendor of your transcendental mercy, it is not proper for you to neglect this foolish person. So anyways, that's Rupa Goswami. So, anyways, because the fresh butter of your heart is always melting in the splendor of your transcendental mercy, it is not proper for you to neglect this foolish person. So, no. All right, does anybody have any other comments? Questions? All right. Tapas, you there? Is it working?
Yes, Prabhu.
Oh, okay. Wi-Fi. Okay.
Where's the Dandavat Pranams?
I don't get Dandavat Pranams. You get Dandavat Pranams. That's okay. I'm alright with that. Dandavat Pranam, Tapas, Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
We have Dandavat Prabhu online here, but he is muted. I think he
Who?
Dandavat Prabhu.
Darnidar. Oh, Jai. Darnidar Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji.
Jai. Hare Krishna. Nice to hear you.
Nice to hear you.
Thank you.
It's nice lecture. I was listening in my office.
Oh,
It's
okay.
good.
Nice. Thank you. Okay, we'll see you soon. By Krishna's mercy.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.